Hi, I'm Neil Cutmore, Managing Director of MortgageAdvice.biz. Today I'm going to talk you through your credit report and how to get yourself in the best position to get a mortgage. So, page 1, we've got your personal information, your name, date of birth, and current address. Now we're going to skip a few pages to almost the last page because one of the most important things for getting a mortgage or any credit is your current address where you are registered on the electoral roll? In my case, you can see that they are the same. That's a good tick in the box, all good. But if they aren't the same, you need to register on the electoral roll ASAP to get these two matched. I'll be producing another video on how to do this later on. But note, this can be an automatic decline with some lenders if you're not on the electoral roll. So, back to the top. Financial account information. Here will be listed all your open accounts. The first thing is to check, are all the open accounts at your current address? I see many reports where people have moved around, especially first-time buyers, and have left accounts open at their parents' address. Or they have opened other accounts and because it's online haven't changed these to the current address. So make a note of any that aren't at your current address and change them. It just shows good housekeeping to the lender and less questions as to, are you at this address or are you at that address? Is there any further credit that we don't know about somewhere else? So make sure all the addresses are the same, and if it's dormant, you're not using it anymore, close it. Next, you want to see a sea of green dots, no numbers. If you see any numbers, they are how many months late you are paying your agreement. If you get to 6 months behind, you get to potentially defaulting on your agreement. And this really isn't a good thing for trying to convince a lender to give you a mortgage. Even 1 or 2 small mispayments in the last 12 months can seriously affect your ability to get a good rate on a mortgage. So always set up a direct debit for at least the minimum amount on your credit cards and then overpay online if you can. Next, the details of all the credit agreements you have makes my life a lot easier to enter balances and payments for your application. So it's an absolute godsend to me. It saves us a load of time going through it all, but it also can help you work out your budget as to how much you can afford to actually spend on the mortgage. Try and pay some of your expensive debt, as debt reduces the amount that you can potentially borrow on a mortgage. And this will affect the affordability calculations made as to the maximum you can borrow. But if you're in any doubt, deposit versus paying off the debt, let's have a chat about it, because sometimes it's not best to pay everything off. If you have credit cards with large limits and you aren't using them, consider contacting the credit card company and reducing the limit. This is because some lenders will look at how much immediate access you have to credit, i.e. you could take out a large loan and then instantly max out your credit cards, making the loan potentially unaffordable. So if you're looking for a loan, consider lowering your limits. The next part is closed accounts, which helps lenders as to how good you have been at fulfilling your responsibilities, but not a great deal of useful information on this part, in my honest opinion. Credit searches is next. So you don't want too many of these in a short time. 1 or 2 is no big deal, but multiple requests in a short period, and the lender will start asking questions as to why are you doing this? Are you being declined? Is there something we don't know about? Have you been accepted? And maybe take out even more commitments than we know that you currently have in the next month or so. So if you're looking to get a mortgage imminently, don't apply for other forms of credit would be my advice. Address links. Here are a list of addresses that the credit search company believes you've lived at. The time order may not quite be right totally, but they think you've lived there at least. So when I ask your address history, make sure you've included all these addresses. Financial connections. Here are listed anyone that the credit company believes you are or were connected to. Usually it's a partner or wife, but if there are connections to people with not a great credit score, this can reduce your ability to borrow, as the lender will consider that you may be borrowing to help this other person. If there are still accounts open with people that may affect your future borrowing, consider paying them off and getting them closed to disassociate. If you've been known by another name, then this is also listed and should be declared when applying for your mortgage. Now the big ones. Electoral roll, I've already covered, need to be on it. Public information. If you have been declared bankrupt and have a county court judgment or been declared insolvent, it will be shown here. And this will definitely affect your ability to get a mortgage. Sometimes not impossible if 6 years old, but definitely a lot harder to get any form of credit, so you really don't want to see anything listed here. Notice of correction. If something isn't right, you believe, or you have an explanation for something on your report that the provider refuses to change, you have the right to have them added here. For example, you could have been unfortunate enough to have suffered an illness a couple of years ago, which has affected your ability to work and therefore pay your bills. You're well again now and working, and that period of your life was a one-off. You can ask that to be put on your credit report for consideration by the underwriters, that you are normally a safe bet, and that the credit issues were due to extenuating circumstance. Let's put it this way. If there's a reasonable reason why your credit history isn't perfect, then it doesn't hurt to have it written in here. Finally, CIFAs. Usually you will be put on the CIFA if you have been a victim of fraud or attempted fraud. It's not a black mark, but does show that you may be potentially vulnerable, so expect more questions or proof of ID required. I'm on the register currently as we went on holiday and someone knew that and tried to take out a current account in my name. So be vigilant, check your credit report often to make sure that you aren't subject to fraud. If you like this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe and click the alert bell. Thanks for watching.